What is up, guys? What is up, guys? We are live here in Medellin, and give everybody a minute to get up into the stream. As you're coming in, please like the video. You guys coming in, hit a 1 in the chat for me if you can hear me. What's up, guys? If you can hear me, hit a 1 in the chat for me. All right. We are live. This is my first live, so I appreciate everyone that can make it. And if you didn't make it to the actual live, if you're watching this on a repeat, once the stream was done, please throw a 2 in the chat for me. Would appreciate it. So tonight I actually got some good topics, I believe, that I want to talk about. Some different things here, as you see the title coming into the live or into this video, if you're watching it after this is aired, is basically read the fine print before dating in Medellin. So I do think there is, I won't necessarily say false advertisement, but I definitely will say there is a lot of things that you see on social media that are actually not true once you get here. That you will find out fairly quickly. So I'm just going to call it false advertising. So I'm pretty sure if you guys have been on Instagram or if you've been on TikTok, you've probably seen some videos like this, and I'm going to throw one up here. And I definitely like to consider when you first start coming to Medellin, you're in what you call your honeymoon phase. But like I said, I'm pretty sure we've all have seen videos like this.
We don't
throw it up.
say daddy. In Colombia, we say papacito.
Papi.
Papacito.
Papacito.
Or I'm pretty sure you guys have seen videos like this. Repeat it.
In Colombia, we don't say, I miss you. In Colombia, we say, me estás haciendo una falta, papacito. ¿Cuándo vas a venir, pues?
Now, what I want to address with this is why I say is somewhat, false advertising, is because a lot of these videos that you see of these extremely beautiful Paisa women, a lot of it is them promoting themselves for either OnlyFans or webcam, or they're in some way trying to monetize themselves. I've been living here a year and women hardly ever say papacito. You maybe hear it once in a while, but it's not as frequent as you see it on online. So getting into my first topic here, which is your honeymoon phase. When you first come here, I want to say you definitely are a little blinded by the excitement, first getting here, being in Colombia or in Medellin more so. And, first time, if you're here for the first time, or still, if I would say if you haven't been here more than 3 or 4 times, you're still within that honeymoon phase. And it's very easy to get caught up in the natural beauty of a lot of women here. And I definitely will say after you've been here over 6 months, that honeymoon phase definitely wears off with a lot of the cons that you do run into with dating here, which those I'll get into later. But I will say when you first get here, you're going to think, it's tens running around left and right. And then, like I said, as you get some time here, the I would say you start getting kind of more of a realistic view of the women here. And in my opinion, I mean, it definitely happened to me when I first got here. I was like, oh man, it's tens running around left and right. And then now that I've been living here a little over a year, it's definitely, I'll say, okay, maybe the average girl you'll see on a regular basis is maybe a 6. So slightly above average, but not every girl you see is a 8, 9, or a 10. They are here, but like I said, they're just not the average girl running around. So this is more so what I mean by your honeymoon phase. So getting into this next topic, which is false advertisement. A lot of YouTubers make it seem as if Colombia or Medellin is just this perfect place for dating. You're going to come here, you will have way more options than you would, I would say, anywhere else. But the question here is, are they actually legitimate options? Are they good options? Or are they, bad options? So also what a lot of YouTubers, do, they fail to kind of mention all the bad things that you have to deal with dating here in Medellin, or just in Colombia in general. But specifically, I'm only going to speak on Medellin because this is where I spent the majority of my time. I have been to Cali. I have also been to Bogota as well. And this year I plan on going to some other parts, but the majority of the extent of my dating and my experiences have been here in Medellin. So, as I said, a lot of YouTubers, they do like to kind of make it seem as if Medellin is this perfect place for the most part, as far as dating. So I want to start by addressing some of the things that I see on some of these videos on social media that I don't necessarily think that are, that's true, or it's just kind of them over promoting it. So first thing, once you get here, the quality of women is just amazing. Not all women here are good women. It is extremely hard to find really, really good quality women here. You have to be able to get into the higher class social circles in order to be able to really meet quality women. And if you're not in those social circles, majority are usually single moms. They come from a single parent household. They don't have the greatest education, or a lot of them are just trying to monetize their looks or, use guys for opportunities. This is the common thing that you will get here. Granted, women here are definitely a lot more feminine. They're a lot more affectionate. They're a lot more loving. They cook, clean, they do all that stuff usually without very much, I would say, without very much resistance, versus if you're in a Western culture, i.e. United States, Canada, the UK, you don't have to deal with it as much here as getting any kind of kickback as far as that, if you're asking them to cook, clean, or do things like that, basically to play the feminine role. Versus in the United States, women do tend to be a little bit more masculine, but this is also because they don't really have to depend on men as much as women do here. So you do tend to have a little bit more of the gender roles, which is a big thing here. Women do expect men to play that male role as far as provider, but you can find, or at least what's starting to happen now, is you're starting to get more women that are, let's say, not necessarily becoming feminist in the younger generations, but they are more so starting to be like, hey, I can pay for some things versus just expecting the man to pay for everything. Um, Another thing I also see here with false advertisement is that a lot of YouTube creators, I think when they come here, the one thing that they do is they'll talk about the ratio. Oh, it's, so many more women to men here. And then what they'll do is they'll show you a video clip, or they'll take videos in Jettis Park where it's a lot of pay to play girls, it's a lot of working girls, and they'll say, oh, hey, this is the nightlife here in Medellin, basically giving you a false perception of, how actually nightlife is here. If you actually go out to a normal club, yes, there are a good amount of women, but I would say that women here generally go out in groups, and usually it's mixed groups, so it's going to be girls and guys. It's not just going to be a bunch of women in a club by themselves, solo. It's not a very like Western culture here where you'll get a group of single girls that will go out all the time by themselves, or a majority of the times by themselves as girls' nights out. You don't really have that here. It does exist and it does happen, but it's just not as frequent as you would get in the United States. So, a lot of the content creators, when they're making videos on nightlife, you'll usually see it's either Parque Jettis or it's in Clock Tower in Cartagena, which is usually where all the working girls are. They make it seem like it's super easy to talk to girls, by walking by, say 2 words, and then what's your WhatsApp? I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen these clips before. So this is a huge kind of false advertisement on Medellin, but also other parts of Colombia as well, that I definitely wanted to address. So nightlife is not like you see online. I haven't seen very many creators really capture legitimate nightlife here in Medellin or other parts of Colombia for that fact. So I'm gonna answer this question real quick. Salute. Would you say Rio, Medellin has the most beautiful women on average out of anywhere you've been? I hear some say Rio got badder chicks and more fit chicks. Okay. So appreciate you, Ozzy. To answer your question, I think when you first get to Rio, and I used to live in Rio back in 2013. I lived there for 3 months and then just recently went again in January. So I think I can answer this question fairly well. In my opinion, Rio has more diversity. So you will get a little bit of everything: black, brown, black with blue eyes, red hair with green eyes. You have more exotic mixtures than you will see here in Medellin or in Colombia. Well, at least in Medellin. Other parts of Colombia, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure they have good diversity in other parts, but for the most part, like here in Medellin, you're just seeing Colombian women or Afro-Colombian women, and that's it. There's not really a good diversity or mixture. Now, with Rio, I will say that you have a lot more natural-looking women. So a lot of them can't afford plastic surgery. So they're just going into the gym, getting it how they can, beans of rice and meat, so they're not getting as much plastic surgery as they are here in Medellin. Also, the thing with Medellin is that looks are super important here and have been for decades because of something called narco culture. So the narco culture here is basically that, the drug dealers used to have all the money. So parents would tell their daughters like, hey, you need to look good so you can get a narco guy, because the narco guys would take care of them, take care of their family. So this has kind of been bred into their culture. So looks have always been of huge importance here in Medellin for the women, not so much for the men, but more so for the women. So to try to answer your question here, I would say Medellin has more better, or I would say more cute girls on average from what I've seen. Yeah, I would say it has more cute girls on average, and Rio has more exotic looking women. Now, as far as city goes, Rio is a much more dynamic city than Medellin, just because you have a mixture of urban, beach, and mountain, and natural. Um, and I will say this too, I do think that the women in Rio or in Brazil, they just have a little bit better personalities than Paisa women do. Hopefully this answered your question. Let me see, make sure I answered that. As far as fit chicks goes, I mean, in both cities, in Rio and in Medellin, I've seen fit, I've seen fat. You see everything from all ends of the spectrum, from fit all the way to fat. You can find everything in both cities. So we'll put it that way. Let me get to some more of these comments. Her Pisces have more closed off social circles, and even that Medellin folks are xenophobic. So might foreign guys deal with Venezuelans? Do you agree with that? Paisa chicks, the ones in the upper class Paisa chicks, yeah, they definitely do have closed off social circles, and they're just more harder to penetrate. You can live here probably all your life as a gringo, and you probably still may not, actually be able to penetrate any of those. So yeah, there are very close, tight-knit circles. But you can still find a lot of quality Paisa chicks that are educated, that, come from good families, that have money, that maybe necessarily don't have, these super closed off circles. QB, what's good, man? Appreciate you logging in. And that's it for the comments. Okay. So I want to get into the next topic here. Single moms. This is something I don't really think that's talked about enough here with Medellin or just Colombia as a whole. Colombia has, I want to say it's about 84% of children are born out of wedlock or to single parent households. So let me pull up this file here. And all right. So according to Google here, this is saying that a significant 84% of children are born to unmarried mothers, making it the country with the highest prevalent of, highest percentage of single motherhood. So it definitely is something that you have to deal with here. Like I said, I do think it's something that isn't talked about enough when people are coming here. This is also something that you don't hear about. Like I said, for you guys, you got to definitely read the fine print, because if you're not somebody who wants to be a single father or take care of someone else's kids, or just constantly have to deal with excuses and drama and BS that has to that comes with baggage of having kids or dealing with the woman who's a single mom, then Medellin or Colombia as a whole just may not be the perfect place for you to actually settle down. Now, there's a lot of women here who don't have kids, who don't want kids. So you definitely can find them. It just takes a little bit more patience and time and sifting through a lot of BS to get to them. Me personally, I don't like to date women that have kids. So for one, women here in not only Medellin, but Colombia, they tend to work a lot of hours. Sometimes it's anywhere between 10 to 12 hours. So if you look at her list of priorities, generally work is going to come first, because of course that's how she's providing for herself and for her family, or her and her kid. So work is going to come first. Generally after that, her family is going to come second, or second and third is going to be family and kids and friends, and then usually you're somewhere around fourth or fifth or on that list. So for me, I want to be the number one priority. It may sound selfish, but I don't want to be put after anyone else. I mean, I get it, you got to go to work, got to make money, but after that I should be number two. So this is a reason why I just don't really deal with single moms here in Medellin or Colombia in general, for that reason. But as I said, this isn't something that isn't really talked about a lot. It isn't something you'll see a lot on social media. I get it, a lot of guys probably don't want to be criticized or canceled for for talking about that, but it is something that is a reality here in Medellin. There's one more clip here that I want to share with you guys that is basically talking about as far as, where is it? Yeah, here it goes. So in Colombia, 68, pretty much about 68% of children are born to young mothers with low levels of education. Another thing that's not talked about here really that much. Some of these articles are a little outdated. This one was from 2022. The other statistic that I put up was from 2015. But to be honest with you, with you having somebody basically with boots on the ground here, that statistic hasn't changed, or it doesn't seem like it's changed very much. If anything, between 2015 and 2025, it's probably got a little bit worse, but not much, just because as of the last 2 years, abortion just became legal in Colombia. And I believe abortion has just became legal here within the last couple of years. So we'll see how that actually affects the birth rate here. But in general, there tends to be a very strong religious background here in Medellin or in Colombia in general. So a lot of women aren't going to go for the abortion route in general. Like I said, I don't think it'll make too much of a difference, but we'll see how things go in the future. This is a big reason why I just don't really like to deal with single mothers because of this. Also, like I said, I just don't want to be a stepfather or invest time and resources into another man's seed. And, I don't really have any say or anything if the mom decides to leave. And, that's it. So let me see if I have any more chats or comments here. Let's see. No. Okay. Oh, wait, here we go. Tommy, I've been living in Medellin for 6 years. I'm going to Rio. What can I expect in comparison to Medellin in terms of women, looks, attractive, and face and beauty? So I kind of touched on this. You maybe didn't catch the other part when I was talking to Ozzy. But so if you've been living in Medellin for 6 years, the huge thing that's gonna be different is the beach culture. I think a lot of guys, when you first get to Rio, you are kind of, I won't necessarily say hypnotized, but I'm going to say definitely more excited, because you will be seeing women practically in their underwear more often than you do here in Medellin, because women are constantly in bathing suits because they go to the beach damn near every day. Rio has a beach culture unmatched by anywhere I've been in the world. So I definitely will say that. As far as in comparison to Medellin, like I said, this is just my personal opinion, my personal taste. I thought on average you would see more pretty women in Medellin than you will in Rio. Like I said, you'll see more natural women. Women there may be more friendly, have better personalities. As far as freakiness, I would say they're probably almost equal in both in Rio and in Medellin. And like I said, it really just depends on your personal preference. What I like to consider a U10 and an objective 10. So there's a girl based on your type, what archetype you like. She may be a 10 to you, but she may not be a 10 to other people. And then there's a classic 10, which, if you put 10 guys in a room, 9 of them will say, yeah, she's definitely a 10. So it's really just your personal preference. But like I said, in my opinion, for me personally, I think on average, you find more pretty, and I'm not saying supermodels, I'm just saying more pretty girls here in Medellin than you will in Rio. But Rio does have the leg up, like I said, with women as far as personality and natural beauty, not so much veneers, nose jobs, or plastic surgery like you'll see here in Rio. I mean, here in Medellin. So if you're into natural beauty, definitely Rio will be a good change of pace for you. And then QB. What about college students in Medellin? Are these women open to dating foreigners? So that's actually a yes. Many university students are open to dating foreigners because they're more interested in learning in general, but also learning about other cultures, and they're more a little bit open, I would say. I think most women here are open to dating foreigners in general in Medellin or Colombia. It's not just one specific group. Like people will say, oh, it's only the women that you find on Tinder and Bumble, or the women that are just after money. No, it's all women are open to it because it's something different, and they can learn something from it and potentially maybe have a better life. I mean, all women want this in some way. So definitely college students, they will date them. It's just it's better to go to the universities and try to find them, or get in different social circle groups where they're bringing friends around that are, that go to universities. So let's get into the next topic here. So the next topic, and unfortunately, this is something I don't see a lot of people talk about, which is why I said, why I labeled this video, what I labeled it as far as, read the fine print before you come to dating in Medellin or Colombia, is that I don't know what it is about Medellin, and I hear this also about Rio, for the people that are interested in going to Rio, is that you get a lot of girls here with just ugly tattoos. I don't know what it is about Medellin specifically, where it came from or how it started, but there are a lot of women here with just huge tattoos, a lot of tattoos that don't really go together. Like, obviously one or two are cute, but you'll find a lot with sleeves, throat tattoos, chest tattoos. It's just a huge thing here that a lot of people don't really cover. So if you're a guy that is looking for a nice, clean cut type looking woman that just doesn't have tattoos, I would say it's a really large percent. Just to give you a guesstimate, I'm going to say it's probably something around like 70% of women here have at least 2 or 3 tattoos. Whether they're small or huge, you definitely are going to find women here that have tattoos. So that's something that you should definitely know before coming here. If that's not what you're looking for, or you don't like that, it's going to be hard to date here in Medellin, especially with that. And like I said, it's extremely hard to find women that don't really have very many tattoos here. So definitely, definitely something to think about, consider before you come here as well. So the next thing I want to get into is online dating and safety. This is something that's often talked about negatively. I do think that you can find some decent girls on both Tinder and Bumble, but my recommendation, after living here for a year, if you have not been here for a long period of time and really know how to move here and know what to look for, I wouldn't recommend. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend Tinder. Bumble, I've used Bumble, still use Bumble, never really have any issues with that. But the other ones, definitely like Tinder. Pretty much, I would say about 85% to 90% of the women on Tinder are pay to play. They're using it as a lead generator, or kind of a lead funneling thing to basically get clients. So if you are coming here looking for pay for play, perfect place to find it. But if you're actually looking for something decent, someone normal, potentially a nice Colombian girl to settle down with, the online dating sites in general, the return on investment for you taking your time to swipe, to message, all the girls you deal with now, you will get way more matches here than you will back in your probably respective country, if you're in the States or Australia or the UK, somewhere that has like a heavy Western influence, yeah, you're going to get way more matches. But the reality of that is that it's just like in your country, a lot of these girls are not going to respond. A lot of them are going to flake. A lot of them are just on there, looking for validation, or they're there because they're bored and they're just looking for some entertainment for that 10 to 15 minutes they're online or whatever. So yeah, the return on investment on online dating is not very good. So, but I know that a lot of you guys that are probably watching this video, or, if you end up watching this video for the first time and you're going to be coming out to Medellin, that a lot of you guys are going to be wanting to get onto Tinder or Bumble to try to find girls. So with that being said, I do want to go into some things for safety that you should definitely look into to help you kind of screen out the not so good looking girls, or not the not so good girls on Tinder, Bumble, or whatever dating site that you may use while you're out here. So starting off with number one, I would say you almost have to be a damn near private investigator or be super critical of each profile. So starting off with number one, I would say get used to how Airbnbs look. Most women here cannot afford to live in no really nice penthouse or super modern apartment. So if you happen to look at a profile and you see that there is, a really nice place, there's a jacuzzi, there's some balcony with a view of Medellin. These are more than likely pay-for-play girls that, have just taken pictures in different houses of the guys that they were with. If girls have a lot of traveling photos, I've talked about this in other videos, another red flag. A lot of sexually provocative photos, a lot of photos in bathing suits. These are all different things that you should look out for as far as screening, the screening process. Always ask for social media. That's something I do. It's 2025. No girl is taking photos and not posting them online. So if a girl ever says that she does not have social media, she's probably lying. Or if she gives you a social media and you check to see when was the account started and it was just started, a month ago, or, within the month that you met them, then chances are that's a huge red flag. I would avoid that. Going into some safety things or just some safety tips. This is just probably the primary one that you need to keep in your mind. Any girl that is very forward on any online dating site about meeting you the same day. Definitely meeting you the same day. Or if she's very adamant about, hey, here's my number, let's make some plans. Huge red flag. Generally, women here are more of let the man lead. They're going to let you ask for their number. They're going to let you, kind of make plans. They're not going to be the one suggesting like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, well, let's meet up. That's super aggressive for women here. Women never do that here. So if you do happen to get on, a Tinder or a Bumble, if you're coming down here, like I said, I recommend you don't. But if you must, look out for those different type of things. That tends to be very, in the year that I've been here, it's a very clear telltale sign that it's probably not one of the best quality women out there. So those are some things with that. Let me check the comments real quick here. What we got? Let me see. Nope. No new comments. All right. So, oh no, hold up. Here we go. There was a YouTuber, no names, got no dates on Tinder swipes. I mean, unless you just have atrocious photos, then yeah. As many people like to say, looks don't matter, looks do matter. even here still in Medellin. There's still some girls that will, give you a chance, but no, I haven't heard of anyone that's coming here that's not getting any kind of matches, or on not getting any matches on dating apps. Social media is yeah, definitely. I would say it has caused the whole tattoo epidemic, but like I said, it is extremely bad here in Medellin. It's hardly ever do you see a woman without tattoos. Ozzy, why Medellin over Rio? Okay, so to answer this question really quick, um, I originally had two choices for learning Spanish, which is the ultimate reason why I ended up coming to Medellin. If you don't know this about me, I previously lived in Miami before moving to Medellin full time, and I wanted to learn Spanish. So at the time, I had two options. I either was going to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina, or I was going to come to Colombia. Now, Argentina didn't really meet with my lifestyle. So first off, I don't like their accent. I didn't want to constantly have to do math with the Argentina currency exchange because it's constantly fluctuating every day. Now, the exchange does fluctuate here in Medellin, but it's not dramatic like it is in Argentina. And they almost have three exchange rates: one if you pay with card, one if you pay with the Argentinian peso, I believe it is, or whatever their currency is called, and then one if you pay with actual US dollars. I didn't want to have to deal with that. Wanted something more simple. Also, Argentina, or at least Buenos Aires, has a very nocturnal culture. They eat late. Maybe, if you're going to go out with friends, eat, then go out to a club or something like that. They have where they go out at like 12:30, 1 at night, and then they show up at the clubs at like 1:30, and then they leave at like 5 or 6. So I'm 40 years old. So at this point in my life, I'm not one that's trying to stay out super late. I like to go out, eat dinner fairly early, go out, party a little bit. Then I'm usually back at home by like 2 a.m. the latest. So I can hit the gym the next morning. So I'm not really one of those for not super late nocturnal. So as far as Medellin goes, why I chose it, one, it's 3 hours away from Miami. So my businesses are still in Miami. If I need to return to Miami, it's only a 3.5 hour flight, versus from Argentina, it's almost 7 hours or something like that, because it's practically right next door to Brazil. The other reason why I chose Medellin was because overall, I love everything about the city. Now, the dating, that can be, so-so or more or less, but everything else about Medellin I absolutely love, which, as far as the people, a lot of people will say that Medellin is unsafe, but if you're not moving in the hoods and the bad areas, I seem to think that Medellin can be not super dangerous. Like I said, I understand I still live in a third world country, quote unquote. But when you get here, it doesn't feel like a third world country if you're not, in those barrios that are just bad and like super impoverished or whatever. The other thing was I do love I think I said the weather. I love the views here. Also, I love that there is no natural disasters here in Medellin or in Colombia. I mean, you may get a little bit of earthquakes, but for the most part, you don't really have any major natural disasters. You're not getting any tornadoes, hurricanes. You're not getting any, anything crazy, snowstorms or anything like that. So the weather is just, perfect pretty much year round. And like I said, you don't really have that. The other reason is if I ever did decide to start a family here, and which is the main general thing for me, was cost of living. It's just super cheap here. Rio is actually more expensive than Medellin is. So your money is just going to go further here. Right now, the exchange may be really good with Rio, but overall, things like Uber, when I just was last there in January, Ubers were more expensive than they are here in Medellin. Food was more expensive by a little bit than it is here in Medellin, which, by the way, I'm going to end up putting out a video pretty soon here on my cost of living and what I pay for groceries, rent, and all that stuff pretty soon. But overall, I just thought cost of living and everything is a little bit higher in Rio than it is here in Medellin. Now, also, the other major benefit of just Medellin or Colombia in general is that if you learn Spanish, you can use Spanish in a lot more different places in the world than you can with Portuguese. If you spend all this time, to learn Portuguese, you really only can use it in 2 countries, actually maybe 3 tops. With Cape Verde, you have Portugal and you have Brazil. There may be one other country that uses Portuguese, but those are the main ones I know off the top of my head. So if anyone sees this video and know more, don't slaughter me in the comments for my ignorance. Those are the only main ones I know that use Portuguese. So to answer your question, this is why I chose Medellin over Rio. And when I just was there in January, I was trying to make a strong case for, is this a place that I actually would prefer over Medellin? And to be honest, like I said, on average, for me personally, I just find women more attractive here. I'm not really a beach person, so that doesn't really do it for me. And if I do want the beach, I can always go to Santa Marta or San Andres or somewhere else along the coast that's not Cartagena and actually get beach versus, having to live in Rio just for a beach. So hopefully that answered your question. Last one here. Do even good girls subsequently hint for money after a date, maybe 20 mil or something like that? So this is another thing that will go into the, I guess, fine print of, dating here in Medellin. So good girls, they will not ask you, well, all women here, no women will ask you directly for money unless they're just pay for play. I think it's too much of a pride thing here. In my experience, also, I have kind of like an OG I know who's lived here for 15 years, black guy from Long Beach. And he's always told me, and from my experience, most girls here, they will, I guess you could say they will hint at it. Not really good girls. Most good girls won't ask or even, try to tell you about their problems. But, and I don't want to say any girl that hints for money is a bad girl, because they're not. But you do get a lot of women here that are too prideful to ask, but they'll say like, oh, yeah, things are a little rough right now. This semester I have some books I need to buy, and, I just don't got the money this month. I don't know, I'm going to buy them or whatever. Like they'll talk about it, but they're not going to directly ask you for it. And they're hoping that you will, step up and be like, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for it or whatever. So I think a good amount of women that will do that here, but it doesn't necessarily, like I said, mean that they're bad girls. You do have women here that are just straight up, they will have money, but they want to spend your money. They don't want to spend their money. So they'll say, oh, I need money for XYZ, or I need money for food or whatever. And they have it. Or let's just say their nails or whatever, something they may ask for. I'm just throwing random examples out there. They'll actually, if they ask for it, then they have money. They just, like I said, they want to spend your money. All right. So that's all the comments. I'm caught up on that. Next thing I want to get into here is the pay for play. So this is something that I don't think that a lot of people talk about, or a lot of influencers talk about when it comes to Medellin or just Colombia in general. From my understanding, Medellin is the capital of webcam and OnlyFans. So you do tend to get a lot of women who come here from not only Cartagena, but other parts of Colombia that do come here to try to work, whether it's Jettis Park, whether it's the brothels, whether it's El Centro, wherever. It's a huge thing here. And one thing you have to understand that's just cultural difference is that prostitution is legal here in Colombia. So they look at sex work a lot differently than we look at sex work if you're from the States or anywhere else. Like, it's not as shamed upon as it is in other cultures. So there's a lot of even women here that have boyfriends that are actively in, sex work, whether it's webcam, whether it's prostitution, and some of their boyfriends are even foreigners, Americans, Europeans, whatever, which is absolutely crazy to me that you would have a girlfriend that that is actively going out and, in that line of work, and you still are okay with protecting and providing for her. But like I said, it is a cultural difference thing. For us, we frown upon it. It's something that is kind of, shunned and shamed in our cultures. And here it isn't so much. So it's kind of a, a normal thing. Now, because a lot of women here do come from poor educations or poor households and can't get good education, you have to understand that they're going to leverage the only thing that they really have, or the main asset that they have, which is going to be their sexuality and their beauty. So, for a lot of women, that is the main opportunity they have. So, it is very normal here. It is very prevalent here. And one thing you do have to watch out for, which is one thing that can be a little frustrating, is you have what I would call a lot of undercover hoes. And what that is you have a lot of girls here who maybe pay for play. They do it on the side. They may do it once or twice a month. Or they actually, that's their main job, is pay for play. But if they can find them a gringo or somebody that will, potentially be interested in a relationship with them, that's going to provide for them, they will basically step out of the game for a little bit or act like they're not doing it. And, so you think that they're a, quote unquote normal girl, and you're basically wifing up a hoe. Or you are, depending on if you're dealing with, some older women, maybe in their 30s or whatever, they were hoeing but stepped out of the game, and you're basically getting an ex pro, shall you say. So this is something that's very real here in Medellin, a real possibility. I would say Colombia in general. Maybe not so much in the smaller parts, which I'll get to in that segment. But pay for play ultimately is very big here. Like I said, it is normal, and it's for a lot of women. It's the only way that they're going to have an opportunity to potentially be able to make dollars than just Colombian pesos. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And the next topic here, because I know this is going to be big for a lot of people, where can you find quote unquote normal girls? So normal girls, you will find those, which this question was asked earlier, but universities, you can find them at making Colombian friends that can vouch for girls that they're introducing you to. If you meet girls at work, me personally, I just don't think you tend to find amazing women, or at least amazing looking women, when you're trying to approach them in a place of work. For example, if you go to a mall here, Santa Fe, and you just go in a bunch of different stores, you will find a bunch of, I would say, average to below average looking women. These are, unfortunately, are going to be your good girls. But most of us, we just don't want these type of girls, because we want the 8s, 9s, and 10s, or we want the most attractive woman that we can obtain. But in reality, the good girls are going to be these average looking girls that will probably, go to the ends of the earth for you. They're not going to look like the girls in Jettis Park, super sexy, nice bodies, pretty faces. These aren't going to be the so-called good girls. The good girls are going to be these average ones that if you walk into any mall here, there's going to be those girls that are working behind the counter. They're going to be the girls that are working at the restaurants. Those are going to be your so-called good girls. That's where you can find them, is, place of work, university, social groups, whether it be for salsa, bachata, or rollerblading, or yoga, whatever, whatever social kind of club or groups that you want to get involved with. That will be where you will find good girls. But as I said, these are not always going to be your 8s, 9s, and 10s. You have to know that your 8s, 9s, and 10s, not only here in Colombia, but in general, all these girls are monetized. You're not going to come. And I had this kind of realization or epiphany after I was here for about 4 or 5 months, is that there's no place, because of social media, because of Instagram, there's no place in Colombia that you're going to go where a girl who is a 10 doesn't know she's a 10 and is just living in some small area and doesn't have a bunch of dudes on Instagram messaging her, offering her flyer out, a bunch of simps that are sending her gifts and money without even meeting her. You're just not going to find this, some super beautiful girl, unless she's in some like super small town that got more cows than people or something like that, maybe. But even then, like I said, it's extremely rare, because once girls put their beauty online and then they start figuring out the attention and everything they get from it, it's just, it makes it extremely hard to find. So these super, super gorgeous women, unfortunately, they're not going to be so much of the good girls. The good girls are going to be a lot of your just plain Jane average ones that, are the ones you'll see every day walking the streets and stuff like that. The real pretty ones, you see them in gyms, even here. Like I said, a lot of those girls are monetized. You ask for Instagram, they got, thousands of followers and stuff like that. So good girls, like I said, they're here. They do exist in Colombia and in Medellin. It just takes a really long time of trying to find them. And it's one thing as well that I'm slowly starting to learn now in my year and almost 4 months of living here, is that everything you've learned in your country, if you plan on coming to date here and live here, you got to scrap all that shit. None of that applies here. It's completely different. And what I mean by this is, one thing is true, like woman's nature, that for sure, that goes everywhere, so games girls play and all that stuff, definitely learn that still applies here. But there's little things like Colombian women, they love guys who are overly attentive. They want you to text them first, or initiate conversations all the time. Like, this was a hard thing for me to learn, because normally in the US, if I text a girl and she doesn't respond, or doesn't text me, let's just say even if we're responding back and forth, and then I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna fall back a little bit, I'm gonna let her reach out to me first the next time or whatever. Some girls here, they can be good girls and they can be really interested in you. They just won't text you first, because they believe here in this culture that it's the man should be the one to initiate the invite, the communication. A lot of them think like, oh, well, if he wants to talk to me, he'll text me. I don't want to bug him. Or here they basically have kind of a what they will call it. What it translates from Spanish is basically like intense. So most girls here are afraid of being like to come off as needy or clingy or something like that. So because Colombian guys here, I guess they get annoyed by if a girl texts them or whatever. So they've kind of learned that, I'll let the guy reach out to me. But for me, that was a huge like cultural adjustment, because we'd be having a good conversation. I'm like, all right, I'll wait, I'll kick back and let her reach out to me first. And it'll be like a whole 24 hours that go by. And I finally reach out to the girl and be like, yo, so if I don't hit you up, what does that mean? We just not going to talk? And they're like, oh no, I was waiting for you to text me. I thought you were upset or something. So, there's a lot of little cultural differences, things that or whatever you've learned in the States, you can't try to apply that here because it's just not going to work a lot of times. Also Colombian women, they like a lot of attention. So as in the States, that would come off us as desperate or thirsty. Here in Medellin, no, like girls like guys who are overly attentive and, call and text and stuff like that. So, general things are like if you text a girl and she just doesn't respond, and then, later you text her again and she just doesn't respond, and yeah, she's not interested. But there are some things that are very different here. Let me get the comments real quick. Don't send her money, even if you have a relationship with her. I would say if you don't live here, don't send money. Definitely don't send money. A lot of girls here have hustles of basically what they'll do. I'm trying to think. All right. So here's what they'll do. They'll be like, all right, some that will say they have a kid. I don't know if it's true if they have a kid or not. Like I said, normally once I run into women that have kids, I kind of try to avoid them. And there are some women here that are so fine, it's going to make you like consider being a stepdad, and you're going to be picturing in your mind you playing catch with a son, but stay away from the single moms. But, they have hustles here where they'll be like, oh, I need 50,000 peso or 50 mil pesos, for a babysitter. And, it's normal in Latin America. A lot of women, or both men and women, they live with their parents. So more than likely what they'll do is they'll have someone watch their kid. They'll meet up with that gringo who will give them the money, and they just pocket that money, and, they do it that way. Or if they ask, they go on 3 or 4 dates in a week, and they ask each guy for money for the babysitter, and that guy gives them the money for the babysitter. They just came up on 150 mil pesos for that week, and, all they had to do was go out with a guy. So there's a lot of little hustles here. Like I said, it's different if you want to do things for girls and they don't, they've never asked for it. But yeah, in general, don't send any girls money here at all. All right. So I wanted to just talk super briefly, like really quickly, about alternative cities to Medellin, because like I said, it's not going to be for everybody. So there are some other places that you can definitely go. So number one is going to be Bucaramanga. It's maybe about 4 hours or 5 hours, maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly. Good spot to go to check out for dating, or just a little bit of a different culture and lifestyle to Medellin. You have Barranquilla, which is another place which is good to go. A lot of people say that Cali is dangerous. Well, I'm gonna say this. A lot of paisas say Cali is dangerous, but when I went to Cali, I actually loved Cali. So much so where I'm like, oh, if I ever get tired of Medellin, then I'm gonna go down and live in Cali for a bit. Cali's a lot cheaper. The women are naturally more curvy. You can still find some very beautiful women in Cali. And then when I was in Cali, everybody in Cali, all the Calians, were saying that Medellin was more dangerous than Cali. So it's both sides, both are saying each is more dangerous than the other. So Cali is another one I would still recommend. Still not overran by foreigners yet. Another thing about Medellin, really quick, is that Medellin was rated the second or the third most visited tourism city in 2024. And if that rings true, that means it's only going to get worse in 2025 as more press and more stuff keeps coming out about Medellin, which just means there's going to be more foreigners, which means more money is going to be coming in, and which means the women here are going to get even worse, to where it's practically like Dominican Republic. So the only thing with DR is that they've been seeing dollars in DR longer than Medellin has. Tourism money is still fairly new to Medellin, or I would say Colombia as a whole. So, it's not as bad yet here, but as more positive press keeps coming out like this, like Medellin was rated the top, second or third top city to visit as far as tourism, And this is when I will say will probably be the point when I decide to leave Medellin, is when it turns into a full-blown spring break destination like Cancun or Tulum, or something like that. That's when I probably will go to one of these other cities that I'm talking about now. When Medellin gets to that point, which I don't think it may not be too far away, because the drinking age limit is 18, and things here are fairly cheaper than they are in the US or Canada or UK or whatever else. So I don't see it being too far away from a spring break destination. The only thing we don't have here is the beach. So that's the one kind of saving grace for right now. But if Medellin had a beach, yeah, this place would be overran with foreigners. So the other cities you got are Pereira, you have Manizales, and you have another one. It starts with an I, and I'm going to slaughter the pronunciation here. It's called like Ibagué or something like that. Anywhere in the coffee region, if you look in those little areas on a map, near Pereira, Manizales, Armenia or Alemania, I don't know how you say it, but in those areas, you definitely will find, a good alternative city where things are cheaper. Dating is going to be 10 times easier. They still have a good infrastructure for the most part. It's not like you're, practically walking on dirt roads and stuff like that there. So definitely would check some of those out. Got a couple of comments here. Bogota versus Medellin on dating. Bogota, you're going to get more intellectual women. You'll find more women that speak English. I still think you can still find some very beautiful women in Bogota. I don't know why everyone here says that Rolas is what they're called, or Rolos is what they're called. Paisa is people native of Medellin. Rolos or Rolas are people native of Bogota. That there aren't attractive women. I found the week I was in Bogota, I found some good looking women there. So it's definitely possible. It's still a lot of sex work there as well, webcamming, OnlyFans, stuff like that. So you still find that there too, but you will get a lot more intellectual women, a lot more women that are going to university, and you will find more women that speak English there. Now, there's a huge difference between these two cities, that Bogota is cold and rainy a lot, but the population is a lot larger. It's somewhere between 11 to 12 million people. It's the capital. And Medellin only has somewhere about 4.4 to maybe 5 million people. I think it's closer to 4 million people. So the populations are extremely different as far as, the amount of people. So if you're in any city that has that large of a population, you're more likely to just have a lot more better options than you would, in a city that has a lot smaller population. Which city in Colombia would you say has the friendliest locals? I only have been to Cali, Medellin, Bogota, and San Andreas. This year, I'm planning on hitting up Pereira, Manizales, and a lot of the other ones. Out of the ones I've been to so far, honestly, they all have been friendly. I can't say nowhere is friendly. Now, that may just be the gringo effect of, as soon as they hear me speaking Spanish, they can hear the accent. They can tell I'm not from there, so they're just naturally more friendly. But everyone I've talked to that's visited some of the same places I have as well. They've all said that, people are friendly. So I think it's just naturally a Colombian thing to be friendly. I could be wrong, but this is just the places that I've been so far. So let's see. All right. So jumping into my last topic here before I jump off. And that is going to be jealousy. It's something that's not really talked about a lot, but this is a statistic that a lot of you may want to know, Medellin or Colombia as a whole was rated number 2 in the world as far as jealousy, with the country surpassing it being Italia or Italy. Italian women were rated number 1 as far as most jealous, and Colombian women were rated as number 2. And they're probably even jealous that they weren't number 1. But yeah, Colombian women are extremely jealous. You have to deal with the cyber stalking on Instagram, you know, all the insecurities, and a big part of it definitely here. So in Medellin, I can speak more on this because I live here. I think a big part of it is just because the competition is so fierce here. There's so many good looking women that when a woman does find a good dude, that she's so scared of losing that guy that jealousy kind of just takes over. So it's just a big part of, competition. They as soon as you turn a corner, there's another beautiful girl. Also, a lot of that jealousy comes from, and this is another, part that a lot of people don't really talk about, that I didn't want to put into a whole nother segment, that infidelity or cheating is a huge part of the culture here, in, I wouldn't say just Medellin, it's Colombia as a whole. So there's a lot of cheating here. So between really good looking women and men being unfaithful, women are unfaithful here too, but it's definitely more so men than there are women. This all feeds into that whole jealousy frenzy, or feels that. So you will get a lot of jealous women here. So if you're not, cool with that, or, somebody who wants to work through it, it can make dating here extremely hard. A good friend of mine, he had to deal with, his girl doing the whole cyber stalking and stuff like that. Or, for example, there was a girl I was dating. I was doing a photo shoot for an event that she was doing. Now, I got to say, the girl that asked me what camera I was using was fine as hell. But there was a girl that came up and was like, hey, she was trying to ask me some things I didn't fully understand. So I pointed her to the girl I was dating. I was like, hey, can you ask her? Because I'm busy trying to get some shots here. And the girl was like, you got a camera in your hand. Why you need to know what kind of camera he got? And then she was like, well, can I get his number? Or she was asking me, I guess, can I get your number can you send me the photos? And the girl I was with was basically like, nah, you can have my number, I'll send you the photos type thing. So you'll get stuff like that. It may be cute at first, but the shit can get annoying after a while. So definitely, something that you have to deal with here. It's Colombia in general, but something, like I said, a lot of people I don't hear really touching on as far as dating here in Colombia, that's just something that's going to be part of, every day of your I won't necessarily say every day, but just will be a big part of your relationship. So if any of you guys got any other questions, let me answer those now before I jump off. So throw them in the chat, and I'll try to answer some questions before I jump off. Barranquilla is great, but extremely hot. I come from Florida, man, where we got like 90% humidity. So heat doesn't bother me at all. I'm cool with the heat, humidity, all for it. But yeah, definitely, this is another place, I've heard good things about. I'm going to go myself and check out. So if you guys don't have any other questions, that is it for this live. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. This is my first one. So if I was, fumbling over my words and everything, I'm kind of building it while I'm flying it. But appreciate you guys. I'll be doing another live hopefully soon. And yeah, that's it, man. Appreciate you guys. And until the next one, you guys be easy.